Okay, I am going live on YouTube. Okay, and we are off. Okay, well, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and I'm just here to quickly talk about this horrible drama with Gigi Hadid. I think that's how you say her last name. Her partner Zayn, who is a singer from One Direction. I don't really know much about him. And his mother-in-law, play mother-in-law, I guess, because they're not married, Yolanda Hadid, formerly of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So and I just think this is this is horrible, but am I sharing my screen? God knows what I'm doing. Okay. I don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to do this quickly. I'll talk about it more tomorrow in my Instagram live, but it's such a good example of what I have been talking about that square between Eris, the goddess of chaos, and Pluto, lord of the underworld, and how it was bringing up such things that were being unearthed in a chaotic manner were, just like, it's like setting nuclear bombs off. And this square was intimately related to the fall of Afghanistan. And in some people's lives, you will see this portrayed in different ways. So let's first go to fight night. So the background of this situation is that this Zayn is a private person, like he was a celebrity, a big singer, and has retreated from the spotlight, wants to live a quiet life with his daughter, who's like 1, and his partner, who's this famous model, Gigi Hadid, in this Pennsylvania farm. And his partner was in Paris doing some whatever runway modeling or whatever. And his fake mother-in-law, Yolanda Hadid, came over in order, for whatever reason, unannounced. I assume the baby was at the farm and she was there to see the baby, and she brought her bodyguard or whatever. And like a huge fight ensued that was just so ugly. Apparently, this guy called her, Yolanda, Dutch, SLUT, and some other things, and cursed her out and just like went completely off the rails. So this is the chart of the day that the fight happened. And then she says he pushed her into a dresser that caused her pain. She filed a police report on him. This is why we all know what happened. Anyway, this all happened September 29th. I think it was the 29th in last month. So on the date that this happened, hours before, like the day before, it was a last quarter moon in Capricorn. So where the sun in Libra squared the moon in Capricorn. Last quarter moons are like times where actions, like consequences, occur. And this is so much about the moon in Cancer, about a fight about a baby, a mother fighting with her daughter's partner. I mean, all of this stuff is within this chart. And Libra is a sign of, it can also be associated with warfare, and you have Mars there, right, as well. So Mars is the planet of war, right next to the sun in Libra, both of them essentially squaring the moon in Cancer. And we also have this is the square between Eris and Pluto. And then on this date was a few days after Mercury stationed to go retrograde, and in Mercury's retrograde at 25 degrees of Libra, which is a hot degree, making a T-square. So Mercury's opposite Eris, and both Mercury and Eris are squaring Pluto. So immediately when I saw this chart and I looked at their other charts, you could see it was a fight about a child. I could see this, especially since Mercury's retrograde is stationing here. And so this is just, the astrology of this is just explosive. Venus in Scorpio, I mean, coming out and calling somebody's mother a slut. I mean, it's just like you can see in the chart how out of hand quickly this fight got. And then, yeah. And then, so let's look at this guy who was the one who like flew off the handle. One of the things that most jumps out about his chart is he has a T square to Jupiter. So when we have T squares, there's like this concentration of energy. So he has Mercury, how he communicates and thinks, squaring Jupiter, and Jupiter squaring Mars, and the release is in Aries. So when this guy blows, he goes ballistic. Having a T square for Jupiter, one of the shadows of this is like being arrogant and overly opinionated and thinking like, you know, what you have to say, like thinking you can act any kind of old way, and that's just fine. And releasing into Aries is like, you know, is fighting stuff. And he's got this exact opposition, Mars in Cancer, opposite Mercury in Capricorn. I mean, so this is even fighting with family is Mars in Cancer. Yeah, and this is Mercury right next to Uranus. I mean, he probably can like just explode off the hook at the slightest provocation. And this is something he has to work on. It is in his Saturn return. It hasn't been exact yet. It's going to be exact, I think, at the beginning of February. His Saturn is at in Aquarius, where it is right now in the sky. And yeah, so if we look at this, my wheel. So he's on the inside. Fight night is on the outside. You can see here that the moon. So I don't know the exact time of the fight. So I just used the chart for noon on that day, but I bet you it was when the moon was, it was a couple hours later in the early afternoon when moon was on his Mars. So this is exactly what happened. He had a fight with his mother, his girlfriend's mother, about their fifth house, about the fifth house child. And he's got Mars retrograde. So excuse me, I have to take a drink. Yeah. And you can see this is all stuff in his seventh house. The sun is Mars taking action. Mercury words. Apparently his girlfriend broke up with him after this happened. Whether it'll be permanent, I don't know. Mercury is in retrograde. They may get back together. We shall see. So they are ones to watch, but yeah, you can see like Pluto's, yeah, Mercury in the seventh house of his partner. Apparently then he called Gigi and told her to strap on some balls and tell her mother, you know, his mother, to get out, and blah, 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 blah. It was just unbelievably ugly is what happened. Yeah. And Eris is in his first house, and he just went ballistic. And then we can look at Yolanda. So what's really interesting is she has this Saturn-Venus conjunction. So this Venus-Saturn in Aquarius. So this can really speak to controlling one's daughter. I'll never forget watching the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Excuse me, my throat is dry. I just was on a plane yesterday, and she was giving her daughter all kinds of grief for eating she was only allowed to have, Gigi was only allowed to have 10 almonds because she's a model, and Yolanda had been a model in her childhood, and so she was giving her all sorts of grief about that. And yeah, so she's also a Capricorn sun, like this, like her son-in-law. So I just see this as like her controlling of her daughter, or thinking she knows best about what her daughter should do. Capricorn sun, she's very focused on career. She wants this guy to walk red carpets or whatever. That's what his press is saying. And he's not interested in that lifestyle. But she has her moon in Sag. We don't know the degree because we don't know what time she's born, but Sag could be very blunt without being asked for their opinion. So you can see this, especially, see her just saying whatever she feels like she has to say about that. And yeah, I will have to admit, I guess I just admitted, I don't watch it anymore, but I have watched I watched it back then, the Real Housewives, Beverly Hills, just, anyway, that's neither here nor there. The thing that's here is that the North Node, the moon was right near her North Node. So maybe it was at, and her North Node is near Zayn's Mars. So that's just like, they probably really don't like each other, frankly. Yeah. And the thing that most jumped out at me about, so Yolanda's on the inside and Fight Night's on the outside, is that Jupiter is on the midpoint between her Saturn and her Venus conjunction. So yeah, she's meddling in her daughter's business and caused this conflict with the daughter's partner that's led to the daughter, them breaking up. Yeah, it's really sad. This is just such a sad state of affairs. And then poor Gigi, who seems like a really nice girl. Here's this sweet little Taurus, and she's off working, and then all hell breaks loose. And what's very interesting, she has her Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of shocks and awe at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And that's where Jupiter and Saturn met on December 21st of 2020, starting a new 20-year cycle in each of our lives. But in her life, it's on this Uranus, which can be like innovative things or innovations in her career, but it's also like her personal life is blown up in the 10th house of reputation, of public spotlight. Yeah, very interesting that yeah. And what else did I want to say about this chart? Interesting. Mars and Venus met on July 13th at 19 degrees of Leo, right in her 5th house, right near her Mars. Mars severs, Mars cuts her relationship with this guy. And in her 5th house of children. So it speaks about her daughter. So now, if they were co-parenting, they're not living together. This is it's just an absolute mess. I feel bad for this poor girl. I mean, and that's the other thing about Pluto. Pluto is about triangulation. When you'll have plutonic things, there'll be 3 people involved. It can have to do with jealousy, control, obsession, power dynamic. So obviously there was this power struggle between the mother of Gigi and the partner of Gigi. So she's caught in the middle of this with her daughter. Just a shame. And let's see. So you can see Jupiter is right on the midpoint between her moon, her mother, and her part of fortune, like a fated event. She's got Pluto right at her midheaven. And I didn't say it, but Pluto's on Yolanda's and Zayn's sun. They're both Capricorn sun, S-U-N. They're both Capricorn sun. So this intensity, is even more of a powder keg because of that. And yeah, the thing that most jumped out at this for me is that Gigi has her Pluto at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And on November 19th, coming up, there's going to be an eclipse that's at, the sun will be at 27 Scorpio, the moon will be at 27 Taurus, and eclipses bring in fated events, and we are in eclipse season. It's close enough for me. I think this fight is directly, well, I think it's more the fact that it became public is directly related to the eclipse. And it's like this transformation of her relationship due to this power struggle between her partner and her mother over, look at this, Uranus on her Mercury at the date of the fight, a blow up, unexpected blow up over her child. Yeah, it's all right here in her chart. And the sun, on the date of the sun in her sixth house of daily life, she was off doing her work to make some money. And the moon in third house of communication. So, you know, around her mother, it's very interesting. And Neptune on her Saturn, like dissolving structures, her marriage, you know, this is not her marriage, her partnership with this guy. Yeah, there's all kinds of loss of structure in her life due to this lack of boundaries of her mother and her partner, both of them, looks, you know, takes two to tango anyway. So that is that. So I hope that's helpful to help understand a little bit about how you can see that T-square between when those planets came in Libra season and then opposed Eris in Aries and squared Pluto in Capricorn, how kaboom things could be going on. We saw all sorts of things as Venus, Mars, Mercury, the sun all move through that T-square. Dramatic events happening, not necessarily in our own lives, but in other people's lives. And you can see that happening in this guy's life. Yeah, and he has to do 3 months of anger management stuff. And I bet I wouldn't be surprised if the last time he had to go to his class will be around his Saturn return. Saturn at 17 degrees of Aquarius in the 12th house of self-undoing. And he's now in his Saturn return. So self-undoing, a learning experience for him. Hopefully, you know, I hope he gets himself together. That's all I have to say about that, and learns how to work with his anger. But you know, you have compassion for someone when you see this Mars opposite Mercury. That's really difficult. Yeah. And both of them squaring Jupiter. Jupiter makes everything bigger. There's this seesaw between how you take action and how you think and communicate. And it's, yeah, this is just an explosive. He probably gets in a lot of conflicts, verbal and sometimes physical conflicts with people. So yeah, although he denies pushing or whatever. This is just the astrology report. So this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Join me on Instagram live at Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for the astrology of current events. And Mondays, I do oracle cards. You can follow me at Astrology by Celeste on Instagram to stay informed on that. And yeah, book a reading if you want my unique insights on your own natal chart and what's coming up for you. It's eclipse season. It's times of new beginnings and endings. And yeah, okay. Bye.